Hi! If you're hearing the sound of my voice, you're watching the version of this video with commentary, but if that's not your bag, well, once this introduction is over, well, the in-game introduction is over, there'll be an annotation link that'll take you to a version of the video which just has game sound. So a few people said, hey, you haven't done a boss run in a while, and I thought, yeah, okay, let's do one. And I thought this game would be a piece of cake. And it turns out this has been one of the most frustrating games I've done on this channel. So enjoy. I figured I would try something a little bit different with this boss rush. Which is to have commentary. Because there's certainly a fair bit to talk about in this game. This has been one of the hardest boss runs I've done on this channel, period. This is the Game Gear Mega Man game, and we are playing on hard. Yeah, this was frustrating. Rather frustrating. There's about 5 bosses in this game, which I would go ahead and describe as nightmare bosses. And Brightman is not one of them, believe it or not. So, speaking of Brightman, we've got this mini-boss sort of thing. Yes, I am recording mini-bosses. I always record mini-bosses. I feel mini-bosses don't get their dues in most videos. Not that there's anything to talk about in this one. This one just has very poor aim and dies in 3 hits. So, yeah, anyway. Brightman himself, if you let him, he will be an utter git. Much like the Game Boy incarnation, he can use the flash stopper whenever he likes, which is kind of unfair. But in this particular game, Brightman actually has a flaw, which makes him the easiest boss of the game. If you shoot, he jumps. Yep, that's this fight. Somehow they made Brightman the easiest boss in the game. Not quite sure how that works, but you know. So, what are these nightmare bosses I described earlier? Well, here's the thing. In this particular game, on hard mode, one of the general changes to any given boss, and even some of the mid-bosses, is they get a rapid increase in speed. I mean, you're talking major, like double their standard speed. On top of that, on normal mode, you don't often see them use their master weapons. So, Snowman doesn't use a Power Stone, Napalm Man doesn't use Napalm Bomb, etc. But hard mode is a different kettle of fish altogether. Whilst I slide this mini-boss in the head. Yeah, the mini-bosses currently aren't worth talking about. But the bosses are. And here's Power Muscler, who has one appearance, so I'm counting him as a mini-boss. He did not pick a very good location to fight me, though. Truth be told, the barrage of missiles took more attempts to get past than Power Muscler did. So up until this point, we're talking attempts being in the 1s and 2s. This includes Brightman. Napalm Man, on the other hand, took about 100. I'm not joking. So here's the deal with Napalm Man. He has a few new attack changes. For one, the missiles he fires forwards explode. This is actually very hard to dodge. He can use the missiles at any point he wishes, including if you're standing directly in front of him, in which case you're taking damage. Additionally, he has a speed increase, as I've previously mentioned, and he likes to stand his ground, and when he stands his ground he throws anywhere between 1 and 3 napalm bombs, and if you've been cornered at this point, you're screwed, basically. So this took a lot of attempts. And so did Snowman! Yes, this game actually made Snowman a threat. The speed increase alone has done that. But on top of that, do not ever let Snowman use his Power Stone when he's to the left of you, because it is very difficult to dodge. This is kind of why I'm trying to keep him in one section of the room, as I can sort of consistently dodge the Power Stone there. If I get cornered, that's it, run over. I'm screwed. Now, thankfully the next two bosses aren't much to talk about. Such as the spacewalker thing, which actually dies in 2 Mega Buster shots. Okay, fair enough. And a barrage of mets are included because of some slick dodging. Nah, that's the only reason that footage was there. What we actually have coming up next is Starman. I think his shield is a lot larger in this game. In addition to the hard mode tweak of him having, like, a major speed increase. Fortunately, Starman is very pattern based, unlike the previous 2 bosses, Snowman and Napalm Man. It doesn't seem to be much in the way of luck shenanigans. So once you've learnt what he does, he seems to do the same thing every single time. He's actually fairly easy to beat. It took a few attempts to learn that pattern, of course, because up until you learn it, it does seem pretty random. But yeah, he likes to alternate between throwing them up high and throwing them down low. Thankfully. And with that, we enter the fortress stages. No, really. I'm being serious. And who's our first fortress boss? Wave Man. Well, okay then. This game's weird. Speaking of nightmare bosses, this is one of the other ones, the October OA. Oh boy, you're probably going to see why this thing's such a git, like, through most of the battle. You'll notice that I actually do shoot it in the same spot several times, and the bullet just bounces off. The hit detection on this thing is horrendous. On top of that, like other bosses, this has also got a speed increase. Not just yet, but when it's nearly dead, it suddenly speeds up and goes nuts. And this particular speed, it's very hard to dodge its shots. Like, really hard to dodge its shots. And that was a close call. That was very close. Lost quite a few attempts to that thing, nowhere near the same level as Snowman and Napalm Man. But enough for it to be a git. Wave Man is thankfully more subdued. His speed increase is negligible. He's still quite fast, but nowhere near as fast as the other bosses. Also in this game, more logically, is Water Wave Attack, or Water Sprout, whatever you want to call it, actually spawns in your location rather than in front of him. Like it does on the Nintendo version. So the fight action makes a lot more sense on the Game Gear. So he's much of a threat. And what's our next Fortress Guardian? Well, it's Toadman. But we're not here to talk about Toadman. No, we're here to talk about Nightmare Boss... this thing. The Escaroo. And I wish I was joking. I really wish I was joking. But, much like Napalm Man, the attempts against this thing went into the hundreds. Not against the first one. The first one seems to have a very set attack pattern. It's the second one, where luck shenanigans come into play once again. There's basically 3 things this thing can do, which means you die. Not just take a hit, it means you die. Because the water currents are so fast, you go into the pit. If it sends out its eyeballs straight away, you're screwed, you get a hit. If it does it twice in a row, you're screwed, and you take a hit. And sometimes, very rarely, it will send out both eyeballs and a bomb. In which case you're screwed, and taking a hit. So that boss was fun to try the perfect run. Do you know who else got a difficulty boost in this game? Toadman. No, really. He did. He does not have the same attack pattern as before. Rather, his attack pattern is now to jump around like a maniac, and occasionally do the rain flush. And it's just occasionally doing the rain flush which can knock you off guard. If he's in the middle of having been hit, since bosses get hit vulnerability in this game, you can't stop the rain flush. Believe me, it happened on about 4 attempts, where I just wasn't able to stop the rain flush in time. Because he'd already taken damage, so I was actually pretty damn careful in that attempt not to hit him too often. Suddenly we changed fortress stages. Huh. What we actually get is Quickman stage minus Quickman, with Sniper Joe being the end boss of the stage, because reasons. So I figured I might as well throw in the death beams, because why not? The main saving grace of these death beams is if you actually hit the tips, you're not instantly killed, although hitting any other part of them does still kill you. And now we got sniper armor, and I run away like a little sissy girl. Mostly because, my god, this thing's its attacks are really, really hard to dodge. Unless you get the high ground, which was exactly what I was going for. With the high ground, it does fall quite easily. And it doesn't despawn or respawn or anything like that, so it does serve its purpose as a mid-boss. And as you enter the boss doors, for some reason you just teleport out of there. And now we have this kit. Wiley has developed a rather annoying capsule in this game. This thing likes to telefrag you. Like, seriously likes to do it. So, my general strategy is to stick to the right hand corner, as it seems to be a spot where he can't spawn directly on top of you. He can still spawn next to you, which is kind of, makes you jump out your skin. Is the best way I can describe it if it actually happens. It happened once in this fight, and thank God it didn't mess it up. Occasionally you'll see me crossing the room, trying to avoid the whirling orbs of doom. And the main annoyance about this battle is no weapons work against him, just the Mega Buster. Yeah, this sort of means the weapon you got, Toad Man, is completely useless. Actually, that's one of the main problems of this game. The weapons are pretty much worthless. Particularly against minor enemies. Some of them do okay against bosses, but against minor enemies, hardly anything. So, the Wiley Capsule is just an exercise in patience, really. And definitely sticking to the right corner. I did try other spots, even the left corner I tried, and he was able to telefrag me. Maybe it was just luck, I don't know. But that last thing was pretty damn close. And suddenly Kodak's fortress explodes, because of course it does. This game made no sense. It makes no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. Well, that was a commentary track. I think I've hopefully gotten the point across as to why so many bosses gave so much difficulty in this game. Most of this is just the case on hard mode. On easy, normal rather, the game is actually fairly tame. But on hard mode, my god, your ass is getting kicked to hell and back. Overall, since this game is fairly difficult, the screen crunch, meaning you can't see pits below you, meaning you require basically several trips through a stage to memorize it. You can only have 2 buster shots on screen at once. You would not believe how much of a difference that makes. I've already mentioned the weapons are pretty damn useless, like, completely. Particularly against minor enemies. Weapons you think would be good against minor enemies are worthless against minor enemies. The Flash Stopper in particular is beyond stupidly worthless in this game. And then, well, there's hard mode. Oh! In special mention, you get no continues in this game, so have fun. And that was a commentary track for this boss run. I will be seeing how well this gets received, as actually having to record a commentary track for a boss run is surprisingly doesn't take a lot of time, unlike, say, doing the perfect runs, which requires a fair amount of time and a lot of editing. The Sonic 1, Rest of Sonic 1 is coming. There's just been issues which, if I was to go into the issues, I probably would scare people. So we're not going to go into those issues. If you really want to know, hop on Sprite Sync's chat at some point and you'll probably get the general gist of what's going on. So hopefully I didn't sound too slurred because I'm in the middle of a change of medication, so hopefully that sounded alright. Then we'll catch you soon with something, some video of some description. See you later.